Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And I actually had a viewer request from someone that directed and wrote the film that I'm going to be reviewing today. So the movie I'm referring to is the 2024 film Obayifo Project, directed and written by Paco Arasanz. So here's the concept for this film. It's a bit of a story within a story, or at least one copying another. We have a documentary film crew that is looking into a situation that was done by a different documentary film crew. Now, that first group was looking into something called the Obayifo, which is described in the movie as kind of like an African Blair Witch project. Now, apparently, what happened with that first group is that while looking into this, a beggar was taken over by a spirit, at least in the story that they've heard. And after a horrifying event, the beggar was the only person to survive. Now, this group decides, in their brilliance, to see if they can recreate the situation, but maybe they'll have a better chance of finding out what actually happened because they're doing it this time around. So they go to a village where they hire a man who will apparently be able to recreate the ceremony. But at the same time, they also need a test subject. So he manages to find a man who is willing to go through with this. Now, the crew decides to not only have their cameras, but strap a camera to the guy so that they can kind of get things from his perspective as well. Now, whether or not there are dark magical forces at work here, or because the director decided to give this guy a drug to potentially enhance the situation, things go terribly awry and spiral in the worst kind of way. So now our crew has two choices. One, getting the hell out of here, but then potentially being blamed for the entire situation that is being caused by this creature, or two, taking on the problem themselves and seeing if they can solve it. So, as a quick heads up for everyone, this is a found footage film. I know not everyone likes those, but this one I didn't really mind. I liked the story for it. Now, along with the story, other things that I did like about this movie are number one, the ability of giving the monster or creature in a found footage film the ability to also have things from their perspective is always fun and entertaining. Secondly, I found the subject matter just very interesting, and I would be okay with the idea of a sequel to this film. Now, as for some of the things I didn't like about this movie, found footage, I do understand, can be kind of rough, but one big issue I had with it is that I probably could only see about 25% of the movie, as the rest of it was so dark that I really could not see anything. Now, like I said, the story is easy enough to follow that I was able to at least understand all of it. Secondly, this is a dubbed movie, and I don't have an issue with dubbing. In fact, a lot of times I enjoy that more than just subtitles, but it almost felt like dubbing that was done in like a Hong Kong style movie where it felt a little out of place or just slightly off for some reason. And then lastly, there was one character that was done in subtitles, but the way that they chose to do the subtitles in this film is they were so tiny and it was like white letters on a whitish gray background. So I really couldn't understand what was being said there. So I do really like the idea and concept of the movie. I just wish I could have seen most of it. I think if I could, my rating would have been a little bit higher. So for this film, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. So if you do want to watch this, it is streaming for free on YouTube. I recommend checking it out. And if you have the ability of turning up the brightness on the device that you're watching it on, definitely try that as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If you're ever involved with a film that has an ability of sending out a screener or a website or specifically a link I can go to watch it, feel free to let me know. I'd love to be able to watch it, do a review, and of course get you some extra publicity for your film.